You are listening to Legacy Moments, where we have authentic conversations about life, business, and so much more. I am your host, Dr. Patrice Berry, and I am joined by my mom and co host, Johnnie Lloyd. Today, we're going to be talking about self sabotage. And this is such an important topic. And I want to give a few caveats that self sabotage, because somebody might be experiencing clinical depression, clinical anxiety, or have ADHD, or have some type of diagnosable issue that makes completing tasks a little bit more difficult. That is not what we are talking about. We are talking about situations where people are getting in their own way, but there isn't some medical diagnosis that's causing this. This is just low self esteem, lack of confidence, imposter syndrome, negative thoughts. That is what we will be discussing. Now, if somebody does have one of those diagnoses, many of these tips may help because having that positive mental attitude, working on that self confidence, doing all of those things, being aware of your thoughts, that can be really important. We wanted to start out with defining self sabotage. And so, if you can define self sabotage for us.
Okay, so as Patrice has already addressed, we know what it's not. So let's talk a little bit about what it is. Number one is self, because there are things that happen to you outside other people. That's not what we're talking about. We're talking about our beliefs, our behaviors. What do we do, and how does that impact us? For an example, I'm going to give you a great example. One is when a person gets promoted, they've worked really hard in their career, they get promoted and they keep on going up the scale, right? And then they get to this place and they do something because they don't believe that they're worthy. So they do something to cause what they believe should happen to them happen, which is sometimes normally negative. Give you a better example. I'm going to use me. I keep on, at one point in my life, I kept on going to this one weight. I couldn't get under 200 pounds. The reason I couldn't get under 200 pounds, every time I got to uh, let's say 205 or 202, something would trigger in me and I would do something. I would sabotage myself by going out and getting something to eat, going out and having this splurge. Now, mentally, I wanted to be under 200.
And
But
once again, and that was about health. It was about having certain health measures
yeah,
and getting to a healthy space.
I kept on doing something that was diametrically opposed to what I said I wanted. So I kept on sabotaging myself. And so now, of course, I'm under that number, but I had to deal with me in that. I had to deal with, okay, what are your triggers? What are you really thinking of? What is the issue? How bad do you really want this? How important is it to you? So that I had to move myself and get some help in some cases to move forward so that I could get the thing that I really desired. And that's what I look at. Is what are we doing that actually goes against the things that we desire? What behaviors, what habits are coming up that are opposed to what we say we desire or want? One of the things we deal with is procrastination. You look at things and you said, this is what I want to do. I need to do this today. And we procrastinate about it. And we say, well, see, and then we have those automatic negative thoughts. And then we move forward. So, Patrice, go ahead and add some more to that.
And with that, because one thing that we do talk about is we do talk about body positivity, that it's not about any one particular number, and that each person gets to set these things for themselves. They get to work things with their medical doctor to make sure that they are at the right health. I wanted to make sure to make that note because some of the listeners may have certain struggles, and I don't want to, because I think your situation was different than
It
what
is.
somebody else might be experiencing. Self-sabotage, it is getting in your own way. It is having this goal, and then each time you get close to it, so some people have fear of failure, And some people have a fear of success.
Yeah.
That is very real. And as things start to go well, they actually start to not feel okay in that space. And then they might sabotage this good thing. So, a job that they like, that is going well, they might just not be comfortable because they're not used to having this positive situation. And things like procrastination, those negative automatic thoughts, imposter syndrome, which we are going to have to dedicate an entire episode to imposter syndrome because you just can't cover it within this larger episode of self-sabotage. And so we will do that next week. But I think sometimes our own thoughts, our own things get in the way of the goals that we are striving for. And I think some of the ways that we can address that is by having the right people around you
Mm-hmm.
that will, in a nice way. So they're not going to be mean about it. They're where you have that one friend. It's normally only one or two people. It's normally not a group larger than that, where they can speak into you and say, hey, it seems like, so if somebody's dating, it seems like you're finding something wrong with every single person. Hey, if they have a goal that they want to do a specific thing, hey, it seems like you're engaging in some emotional eating and in overspending. And there are things that we sometimes do that end up getting in our own way.
And it's considered habit. Behaviors become habits. Behaviors is something that we can take off and we can put on, right? A behavior is just that, is a behavior. It causes it allows me to know, I can find out who I am in that behavior. I can find out more about me in that behavior. However, it's about, how is it impacting you? How is it increasing your life? That's what I look at. I said, well, you know what? I have this habit or behavior. Is it adding value to me? And how is it adding value to me? How am I becoming a better person because of this habit or behavior? And Patrice mentioned a little bit about, I'm gonna call it, and she'll probably fix it, but I'm gonna call it a little bit of peer pressure. Because peer pressure, and this is me saying that peer pressure, most people look at it from a negative perspective. However, you can be in a group, right? A mastermind, a group of people that are around you that are helping you get to your better self, encouraging you and providing you more information. And when you look at them, not that you're competing. So be careful with that thought when you look at that kind of group. Look at, you're looking at them and they're encouraging. You can see it better. You say, wow, if it's possible for them, it's possible for me, that kind of thing. So sometimes on social media, though, the pressure that people are under, when you're for an example, you're looking, if a person has a negative thought and they start hearing things in social media, or people say things about them in social media, then what happens is that, what that does is that adds to their thinking in that arena. So this is one of the things, this is a tip in the middle. Remember this: what you feed grows. Whatever you feed grows. If you have a plant and you speak positivity to the plant and you're very nice to the plant, all of that, uh, the plant will flourish. Same thing with you. When you feed positivity to yourself, when you speak kindly to yourself, when you think kindly of yourself, then you grow. You grow internally. And whatever happens on the inside is a reflection of what you see on the inside. I'm not talking about the makeup and the clothes and all of that. I'm talking about who you really are. Because this is what I know. Most people, this is for leaders and anybody like that, people that are faith, that are believers, whatever, people go out and they teach what they know, right? But you grow what you are. You duplicate who you are, because that's a DNA thing, right? You multiply what you are, but you teach what you know. So sometimes there's a disconnect with what you know is right in your life. I see you're getting excited. Okay, so I'm saying some good, I think I'm saying some nice things
And
now.
that's where sometimes a therapist often needs their own therapist, because
Yes.
just because you know it doesn't mean you're doing it. So just because somebody is teaching business doesn't mean that they're applying those principles to their own business. And I also wanted to note that with what we were just discussing, relationships,
Mm-hmm.
children, those things do not make you. So what it does is it reveals what's already there. And so if I'm a hurting, broken person and I get with another person, that hurting and brokenness, if it's somehow magically fixed, then that gives that relationship a whole bunch of power, and then I might stay despite bad stuff. And so I think it's really important that people, anything that you're going into, if you're going into a job, so before I was Dr. Patrice Berry, I was comfortable and confident in being Patrice, which is why I don't force people to call me Dr. Berry. I work with kids and teenagers, and it's totally okay if they call me Miss Patrice. Lots of kids have fears of the doctor. And so I think things don't make you, or when you let it make you, it really does give that thing so much power. And so, as she was saying with social media, and Chrissy Teigen just got in trouble for some mean tweets
Mm-hmm.
that she had done in the past. She had been a bit of a bully online and was really critical, had said some really, really negative things. And that's not the image that she portrays now. That's not who, she claims to be now. And so being able, but those things matter. And so to kids, to teenagers, when people are putting stuff out there on the internet, know that that is forever. Forever and ever. Be very careful. I know people that have wanted to get into politics later, or my husband and I were watching this thing where somebody was had just gotten a job with Saturday Night Live, and they went back through all their tweets because they had tweeted some mean stuff about SNL, and so they ended up going and deleting a lot of those old things that they had said. And so just be mindful of those things, be aware. And even if your account's private, just be careful of what you do
Yeah.
online.
Yeah. And that's the thing I didn't have. I didn't have my history following me under social media, which was really kind of cool because there's some things I did that were, can we say that they weren't the best things? However, you are not your behavior, right? You are not what you've been through. There's greater within you. So how do you tap into that greater? You look at and you say, okay, when this happens to me or this thought comes out, is this thought true? That's what, right? It pops in your head. Is your head. So you have to control. Go ahead.
And just because it feels true doesn't mean it
It
is
is.
true.
Thank you. That is so powerful. And yeah, address that just a little bit deeper.
Feelings aren't facts. So I can feel all alone and be surrounded by people. Feelings, now that feeling is valid. I validate that feeling, but then I look to see, is there something from my past? Is there something going on? Is there what's happening that's triggering this feeling, that's triggering this thought? Sometimes, so we are on Clubhouse, and there will be times when I'm speaking, and because I can't see feedback of people, like of people's facial expressions, I don't know if they're getting what I'm saying. And there are times where I might get a little self-conscious about, and I might start to think in my mind and feel like people aren't understanding, like I'm not communicating effectively, and later find out, yes, you were, it was fine. And so I've had to breathe and rest in, okay, whatever needs to be communicated is being communicated. I have a stutter. I used to have a really, really bad stutter. I likely should have done speech therapy. I should have done therapy when I was a teen. Like there's like a whole bunch of things. Shoulda, coulda, woulda. And that's why I am an advocate for kids and teens getting the support and help that they need. Getting support and help doesn't mean that you're dumb. It doesn't mean that you're stupid. Because for me, I thought, oh, getting speech therapy, that meant that there was something wrong with me. And it wasn't that there was anything wrong, it was that there were some interventions that could help. And I think self sabotage, sometimes we can cut ourselves off from people and things that can help.
And that's the thing, because it's self. It is self. So it's our perception of what's going on. Have you ever been into a room or you walked in and everybody, it just seemed like nobody noticed you or something was going on, and then people were whispering and you said, and in your head you said, I think they're talking about me. And then you go over or you walk or you think with that thought, and that's not what happened. It had nothing to do with what really happened. So the key is this: is the first person I need to deal with is me, because me is the thing I don't get a chance to walk away from. So when I have thoughts and when I have belief systems, I have to see if it's the truth. Is it a fact? Is it my truth? There's a difference. Is it my truth? Somebody can call me whatever they call you, right? But is it your truth? If someone calls me outside my name, I'm not going to respond. You know why? That's not my name. So if someone calls me that, I don't respond. So the same thing with other things. If someone's looking for something or someone that is not who you are, it's not because you're not good. You're amazing. However, it's what they desire. Don't get that twisted. And don't twist yourself into being something that you're not, or you have no desire to maintain for the rest of your life, or even for a long period of time. I'm just saying.
I love that. And so one of the tips is going to be start with your why.
Mm.
What are you striving for? What is your purpose? What is that thing? And purpose isn't the same all the time. It's not something that is static, it is something that flows. So, for this moment, what are you striving for? What are your goals? So, right now, my purpose could be to find some emotional peace and go on a healing journey. That could be my goal, and that would be an amazing purpose to break generational trauma, generational issues, and step into post traumatic growth, step into generational resilience. So I don't want to make that sound, or if I'm a stay at home mom, my purpose might be keep these kids alive, make sure that they are healthy. I think it's okay for kids to not be happy all the time. If you're a good parent, your kid is not going to be happy all the time. Uh, Mine is learning that he can't always get his way. He is an only child. He is the only grandchild from my husband's parents and my mom, and the third grandchild with my dad, and he is spoiled. And so we have had to start setting in some boundaries, and he's 3. And so we've had to start letting him know, hey, you can't always get your way. And because sometimes that can also happen where people's emotions
Mm.
sabotage things.
Yeah. And let me step in here for just a sec. What is okay in public, we have to set, if we have to control ourselves in private. In a private setting, like she was just saying, he is an only child, and spoiled is not bad. Spoiled is spoiled, right? Spoiled in this case means that he gets a lot of things. However, he's used to him being the center, right? So when you do that in private, when they come to a public space, there may be some additional training, and not just for children. Hello, for us. Sometimes we came from a setting and we just retired or whatever, and we used to be the top CEO in this company, and now you're just you, but you were always you. The other was a title, the other was a position. It was not you. And that's what Patrice was talking about. Yes, there are some titles and tags that people get. However, who are you? What is your why? What is your why? And what do you believe in? What are you passionate about? What were you created to solve? And when I say that, it's about, notice I said solve. And when you solve something, it's not just for you, it's for other people. So, what is the answer? What answer? I look at me and I said, what question am I answering in other people's life? Because I provide services, right? However, like we were talking about earlier, when you look at coaches, when you look at psychologists or psychiatrists or whatever, to get the help that you need, make sure that, especially on the coach side, on the on the consultant side, that the people are using it already. Because again, I'm not going to go to somebody and give them my money to make some financial decisions if all of your decisions are jacked up. I'm just saying, because if you don't have it in practice, it's not because you're not doing it, then why am I following you? Why am I doing what you're telling me to do? And I'm not degrading the person. I'm just saying I want to see the fruit that you're giving to me to trim my tree and make me better. I want to see the fruit in your life, not perfection in your life. I want to see some of the same fruit, because a tree comes from the root, and whatever's in the root happens to the fruit.
I love that. And so the next tip is going to be address those thoughts, speak to yourself, because often people that struggle with negative thinking towards themselves, they think very positively about other people. And so speak to yourself like you're your friend. Speak to yourself positively, because sometimes people they let other people make mistakes. So if a friend is late, it's like, oh, she had something going on. That's not a problem. And then if I'm running late, it's like, oh, I'm the worst ever. They're never going to forgive me. I don't like, sometimes people can catastrophize, and catastrophize, that is one of those cognitive distortions where you're blowing up. The situation is this big, but we're making it this big. And so a tool that I sometimes give my clients is to scale the problem. So if I feel myself getting upset, I step back from it and say, how big is this really? I'm running late. That's a 2 out of 10. That's not. Now, if I'm running late to pick up my son from daycare, then we're at like a 6 out. Like that's a that's different than if I'm running late to brunch.
And based on the time, it could be a 10. Okay. So let me do something that I did this morning on the way. I am on my way. I'm running into some traffic, right? So I have hands free. So I press the hands free and I say, call her, right? To let her know, because I'm responsible. So I called her to let her know. Oh, well, I thought I was gonna call her to let her know. And the car says, no phone set up. And so my face is like, no phone set. That means my phone is not in my car. So anyway, so I get to the door is locked. And so I'm thinking, how do you get her attention? So I said, okay, this is going to be really interesting. So I bang on.
Was your bang? It sounded like light knocking.
It was a light knocking at first, and then it went to a little bit heavier knocking.
So I was.
Then I went back to right. But my point is this: don't beat yourself up, because I don't have a phone. But you know what? I wasn't born with a phone. It's not in this. I'm sorry.
This next generation might.
I know y'all thought y'all were born with a phone when y'all came out. The phone was in your hand. And in some cases, I believe that, because I want to tell you, my grandson took my phone at a young age and started acting like he knew what to do with it. And you know what? A lot of stuff he was doing was right. And I'm thinking, how did you learn that? And it's in him. But anyway, my point is this. There's some things that are urgent. There are some things that are important. There are some things that are urgent and important. And then there's some things that are just not urgent and just not important. I had plenty of gas in the car. If anything happened, I was going to figure it out. And I was going to get into the building, even if I had to stand outside the window and call her name and she's on the second floor. I'm just saying there was a way to do it. And so this is what I'll tell you when you look at the power, disempowering the thoughts of self-sabotage. It's when you find yourself in that state and you feel this coming up. Patrice said, breathe. After you breathe, remember that you get a chance to forgive yourself for anything that you have that has not been accomplished. Remember, you get a chance to give yourself grace. We are really good at giving other people grace and mercy. We need to do the same for ourselves, right? The other thing is no matter, nobody's going to always be happy with everything in their life. Does that make sense? I mean, honestly, we have people that are billionaires and they're not happy with everything in their life. We have people that are heirs. That means, they believing for greater. This heirs. So, and they're not happy with everything in their life. However, when you get up every morning, when you to deal with the behavior, get up every day and write down. We've talked about gratitude. We keep on going back to gratitude. However, gratitude positions our mind and our body in a different place. I have been walking, and the goal is, okay, you step outside the house, you have on the right outfit. When I say outfit, I have on the right shoes. That's really important. And I said, okay, so you can come back into the door. You decided to go out. It's not raining. So you decided to go out, right? So my goal is to have 3,000 steps before I can walk back in the door. So it doesn't sound like much
It's a
to
lot.
other people. However, when you're starting at zero, it's good. So this is another one. Don't use other people's goals, aspirations, and success as your vector check as to where you are in your life. You don't know what it costs them to get that. So look at your life and determine what you desire in your life and go after that. However, don't beat yourself up when you don't make it. Just
And
readjust.
and that's self-compassion.
Oh, that's good.
Having compassion for yourself. And somebody on TikTok, I love it, said forgive yourself.
Oh, nice.
Because we often talk about forgiving others, and forgiveness isn't reconciliation. Forgiveness, like that's a whole other, but
That's something
that's
we
a
need
whole
to.
episode. But with forgiving yourself, because often, like I said, we end up internalizing things that sometimes we end up internalizing our problem. And what I mean by that is our success. We say, oh, my success was luck. I just lucked into this. I am flying under the radar. And that's that imposter syndrome. If people really knew, I wouldn't be in this position. And then failures are internalized that there's something wrong with me. And when you have that type of mentality, you're going to have depression. There's going to be anxiety because you are beating yourself up and you're not giving yourself space. So that's where taking time, that when something good happens, when somebody gives you a compliment, you take a breath and you say thank you.
Right. And I haven't always done that. Can I tell myself? I said, well, it's only da da da. And then in church, I would say, it's the Lord. It's the Lord. But he has to use me. He has to use people. So I can say thank you and still give him glory and honor. I can say thank you and accept the compliment. And you don't always, when somebody compliments you, a lot of people, the first thing they want to do is to immediately compliment the other person like you owe them that. That's
It kind of deflects things.
Yeah, it deflects it off you because you say, okay, it's not about me. So one of the things I think is really important is when we look at ourselves and we compliment ourselves. Look in the mirror, and like today, my hair is really cute. I mean, my hair is always cute, but I mean, it's cuter today than sometimes. And then move forward. But it may just be your hair today. It may be whatever. So let me do the thing really quick on forgiveness. Remember that forgiveness is for you. When you forgive someone, or especially when you forgive yourself, because remember, what we're saying is you are not what you've been through. You are not what you did. So forgive yourself so that you can move forward, because you don't want to stop in that space and keep on going backwards and keep on redoing that. Now, Patrice has I know she has a lot more to give in that, and that may be something we need to discuss in a future one. But this is what I'm going to say: give yourself grace and mercy, build boundaries, consider boundaries. There's a lot of great stuff that's out there. But what I'm going to tell you is this: you are the only person that can be you. That even if you have an identical twin, your fingerprints are not the same. Now, identical twins are supposed to have the exact same DNA, but think about this: their fingerprints are not the same. So when you touch other people, when you spend time with yourself, when you love you, when you give yourself a break, when you do all of these things that we're just talking about, guess what? You get a chance to imprint differently on your life first, and then you get a chance to share who you are with others.
I love that. Thank you so much for listening. And if you're interested in learning more about forgiveness, you can hop over to my YouTube channel. I have a video on forgiveness. I also want to make a special note to prepare people that next week will be our last episode until I think I'll know for sure next week, but it'll be the last episode until I think September. And we're going to take a short break just to be able to refresh. I have a book coming out and I need to finish writing it. Talk about self-sabotage,
Hello.
and other things, shiny things can distract me. And so I have to remove distractions. I love doing the podcast. I love being on TikTok. I love doing all these things. I'm going to step back from things for about a week or two just to be able to get the book launched and follow over on Instagram, TikTok. If you're on Clubhouse, check us out there. We may still be doing rooms. We're going to decide what we're going to do with that and have that for sure next time. Thank you for listening. Hope you enjoy the rest of your week.